Hello, my name is Jim Doling, and I'm the Cable Web and Communications Coordinator for Radnor Township. Some of you may recognize me from the program Radnor 411. Today I'm here to talk about a brand new program that Radnor Television is producing called 30 Minutes with the Manager. The concept's rather simple. Township Manager Robert Zienkowski conducts one-on-one interviews. Whether it's the President of the Board of Commissioners, the Director of the Finance Department, or a member of a community organization, Bob helps us get to know the people that make Radnor Township the best place to live, work, visit, or do business on the main line. So please enjoy the very first episode of 30 Minutes with the Manager.
Joining me here as the first guest of this program is Commissioner Elaine Schaefer, who is also President of the Board of Commissioners. Thanks, Elaine, for joining me.
Pleasure to be here.
Maybe if you can just give a little bit of background with yourself, how long you've been on the board and what you did prior to.
I'm just starting my second term, so I had a 4-year term that I served and then I just got reelected. Before I became commissioner, I was very involved in our community, and my main job in the community was with the Radnor Conservancy, which I had been with for 7 or 8 years, and I served as president, and I actually co-founded it with another woman, Ginny Kreitler. I also have been really involved in schools and with the League of Women Voters and the Radnor Educational Foundation. So kind of all over the community.
How have you enjoyed your time on the Board of Commissioners?
I've loved it. I mean, it's a really satisfying, public service to do, because it's at a level where you can actually implement things and get things done. And over the last 5 years, we've really managed to get quite a lot done, mostly because we have a fantastic administration and staff.
The staff does do a great job. Is part of that, it was some of the challenges you see as being a commissioner?
Well, change is always a challenge, and a lot of the things that we face involve change in our community, change in development or change in policies, in navigating or helping our community navigate that change. That's probably the hardest part of being a commissioner. And nobody likes change, but most of the time, or some of the time at least, change is progress, can be progress, and that's been probably the hardest part of the job.
Now, as the role of the President of the Board of Commissioners, what things are you responsible for as part of that, being the President?
Well, keeping order during meetings, which isn't always easy, but I help set the agenda with you. The President of the Board and the Township Manager meet once a week and go over what issues need to be addressed, what issues need to be on the agenda. And then other than that, really kind of making sure the rest of the board is informed and involved and engaged, and basically making the meetings run as smoothly as they can.
Now, there's a lot of time you spend outside of just the board meeting nights.
Yes.
With a lot of communication and that with constituents and that. We just want to talk about so much that you do outside of just the actual meeting times. Well,
when you're a commissioner in a small town, you're always a commissioner. So, pretty much anytime you're out in the community, you're, working with and seeing and talking to your residents. All the commissioners go to subcommittee or board, sub-board meetings, so we do that as well. We're all assigned a board, and we go to those meetings. And then, in general, the constituent work, which is actually the best part of the job, that's every day. Phone calls, emails, quarterly meetings, things like that. Kind of keeping up with what's going on in your ward and what residents need, and what's bothering residents, from garbage issues to rabid foxes to, it can be anything.
Well, and I know too that I see a lot of emails that come to you, either to myself or to some of the staff is passing along information and that, and those emails range almost round the clock, 7
Right.
days a week, evenings, weekends, holidays.
Right. They are
all of that.
24/7. You'd be amazed at when people think about emailing their commissioner. But honestly, if I found it, I'm sure you would agree with me, when you get an email, whether it's 5 in the morning or 11 at night, if you don't deal with it right then, you never know if you're going to get back to it.
True.
So yes, I try to keep on top of it, and I find that with staff, I'll forward something on, a question at 11 at night, and at 11:05 I have an answer. So I'm not the only one that's always on duty.
That's where a lot of people think that just a commissioner's time is here on TV and at these meetings, but there's so much more that spills out, and even to the community groups and organizations too as well that you have to be involved with.
Right. Which is, if you felt that was a burden, you wouldn't run for commissioner. I mean, most of the people who are commissioners, they're out in the community anyway. That's the type of people they are. So, that's just part of it.
And I know that we've talked about the many challenges that the township faces here. We spent a year going through kind of all the financial issues where we are, the infrastructure and all those types of things. In the time that you've been here over the last few years here, do you think that the township has made progress, but also the board has made some progress on addressing a lot of these issues?
Oh, for sure. It's never fun to do that kind of economic soul searching, especially when the news isn't good. And unfortunately, for many years and decades, we didn't do a lot of economic soul searching. So things really started to work against us. But I would say, when this board, that's kind of the current makeup of the board, took power, I'd say, a few years ago, that was sort of the number one thing, is let's get our house in order. And it took a while. It took thank God for CARFAC. They spent many hours parsing through exactly what our liabilities are and which ones we can control and which ones we can't, and the ones that even with a challenge we should try to control. And so they really helped us by providing a roadmap of how we can get our hands around and a better handle on our financial, especially our long-term financial future. So that has been, it's been a challenge, and it's been probably one of the more important things looking back. There are a few really important things that in 20 years people might look back and say this board did, and that is right up there on the top of the list, is finally getting a handle on those long-term liabilities and starting to fund them.
Now, one of the things with the budgets, we tried to put as much detail as possible out to the public, but I know that many times, and we've been very fortunate enough through the board's oversight and the management of the department heads to be able to come in under budget these last few years. There's a lot of misconceptions or perceptions that, well, when you have finished the year under budget, you have extra cash, and that goes for whatever. You want to talk about how the board has actually kind of made sure that whatever excesses there are, what's done with those?
Well, yes, I do, and I'm going to answer that question in a minute. But first, I want to note that the fact that we come under budget I think, speaks really highly of this township and the way it's run. Our projections every year are pretty conservative in terms of what we're going to bring in, especially in terms of what we're going to bring in, and also in terms of kind of worst-case scenarios of what we'll be spending. So. And in my opinion, that's the way it should be, so that you're not ever biting your nails about, are we going to make a budget this year? So that really has been a change in the way things are run, and I think that's why we're seeing these surpluses each year. But to your question, the excess, we actually were due to pass a new policy, but we've been working under a policy over the last, I think, 3 or 4 years that we would take anything over 15% surplus. 15% we set aside as our fund balance, so it's a rainy day fund. And for your bond rating, it's really important that you do that. But anything above that, we've earmarked in certain percentages for our long-term liabilities and for our capital needs. Whereas, a decade ago, we would just take out bonds for capital needs. Now we take that excess money, and that's what we put towards capital and long-term liability funding.
And as part of that too, as well, we had audit reports earlier where there were findings in that to where they are now. I think that the township has come a long way to make sure that issues are addressed properly, and as a big part of that is I think CARFAC has played a big role of making sure that accountability from a resident side and perspective is being taken care of.
So true. I don't think it would ever make any resident comfortable to know that the audit report came back with, 10, 15 red flags. That's not a good sign. So that CARFAC has really helped with that. But I mean, really, the kudos goes to the finance department that has really readjusted the way things are done, their policies, and I think we're down to, our last audit was pretty clean. So.
Now, issues in front of the board right now, items that are being worked on, maybe you just want to just touch briefly on some of the items that the board's working on.
Well, it's mid-March right now when this is being filmed. I'm not sure what's going to run, but we are at the finish line of the Villanova process that in the next weeks, maybe months, will finally get approved, the ordinance that will govern certain college districts. And that should allow them to move forward with their redevelopment plans, and that'll be a big change for our township, and in my view, a positive one. So that's in front of us right now. We also are considering what is going to happen with the redevelopment of the property across from the high school, the baseball field side of the high school. And that's the Centacor, the Biomed property that used to be Centacor. And that is, well, that's an unfinished story right now, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. We're also readdressing the Willows mansion. We went through a process for about a year, which didn't come up with a satisfactory solution, so we are going back to square one and trying again, and that will be in front of us over the next couple of months. And we, one of the big things that we've done and that we'll continue to work on in this year is the stormwater management program and fee. As many people know, we instituted a fee. We've done the collection, and this will be the first year of actually implementing and starting to spend some of that money. So that's some of the fun we're having.
So there's a busy year ahead for the Board of Commissioners.
It's been a busy, it's been a busy 4 or 5 years. This has been a proactive board, let's put it that way. We've done a lot of things.
Good. Well, I want to thank you for being part of this first program and first guest on the show.
It is my pleasure. I'm thrilled to be here, and come back anytime.
We will do that. Great.
Thanks.
Thanks. Who I have with me now is Bill White, our Finance Director. Bill, thanks for joining me as part of our initial programming here.
It's always my pleasure.
Maybe if you just want to talk about how long you've been here with the Township.
I've been with the Township since July 2010, so a little over 3.5 years.
What's your thoughts on where the Township was when you started and where we are right now?
Well, I would say that we have come a long way. I think one of the goals that was made clear to us when we first got here was kind of getting the financial house in order, and we've done a lot of that. We spent a lot of time focusing on that pretty early on. I forget exactly when, but late in 2010 we established the Citizens Audit Review and Financial Advisory Committee, and that was a critical step in getting some outside views on specific areas that we can help address right away, some of those being internal controls, the types of information that residents want to see as far as how the township's doing financially. So we started modeling those financial reports based on the recommendations from those folks. So that helped speed the process up. And then we've also benefited over the last 3 years of an economic recovery. I think we came in 2010 was kind of the low point in terms of revenues for the township, and since then the township has the economic base of the township has been growing, which has helped on the revenue side.
Now, as part of that, initially with the audits that had come through, there were approximately 20 plus audit findings. I know from your department, from what the board had looked for and working with CARFAC. Maybe you just want to give an update of where that was and where it is now?
Sure. I forget the exact number. I think it was somewhere in the mid-30s, the total audit comments that were included in the management letter. The audit comments themselves are broken into 3 categories. You've got material, significant, and other. Obviously, material is the worst kind. Those are the kind where the auditors are basically saying there's a material weakness that could lead to something bad happening. And then significant is something that management should be looking into and addressing. And other are ones where the auditors find things and make recommendations, but they're more no cost benefit analysis. It's kind of best practice would suggest you do it this way. So the first thing we did is we sat down with CARFAC. We prioritized all of the comments, even within the categories. So out of the, I believe there were close to 10 material weaknesses. Now we prioritized which ones of those we needed to address right away, based on the level of risk in terms of safeguarding the assets of the township. So once we did that, we took the next 8 months or so to really start implementing policies, procedures, controls to satisfy those. So as of the last audit, so we've been through 2.5 full audit cycles, we're down to 2 comments. All the material comments have been resolved, all the significant comments have been resolved, and we have 2 that are out there, and they're both pertaining to implementing a capital asset inventory and accounting procedure. Because right now we do that through spreadsheets, and it's a matter of finding the right solution that's out there. So that's one that we're addressing. It's just that one's going to take time and money.
And also as part of that, I know that there was a process for about a year. We went through with the board and identified a lot of the issues, from infrastructure issues, from stormwater to sanitary system, roads, recreational facilities, and trying to find the funding from those. In establishing fund balances to be able to address a lot of these for the long term. Went through some liabilities the township has with OPEB and pension. Kind of a year long of just kind of trying to assess where we are. If you just want to briefly touch on that year's process.
Sure, that was 2012, and each month had its own theme, and so what the administration was doing in those months leading up to the presentation was getting a lot of the background information put together. You pointed out the liabilities, the unfunded liabilities. That was a topic that was, I think, on day one, the one that was ringing the loudest. The township at that time had a Citizens Budget Review Committee. They're referred to as CBFAC. Those folks were in, and that was one of the, they had a lot of issues that they addressed in their report, but that seemed to be the one that had the biggest dollar sign attached to it. So that was the one that got the most focus coming out of that. And coincidentally, that was the one that we addressed first in 2012 with our monthly reports. The couple major goals in the meetings themselves, it was making sure that what was reported was the accurate number, because we found pretty early on that everyone kind of had their own version of the truth. And some folks said it was not a big deal. You had other folks saying we're on the verge of bankruptcy, and then everything in between. So I think the important thing with those meetings was making sure that we got the right numbers out and it was fact-based. And again, CBFAC helped lay the foundation. CARFAC then came in and helped us and played a significant role in making sure that everybody understands exactly what those liabilities are and how they work. So we had the pension and OPEB was the first, and then as we understood at the time, we stepped through some of the other ones, the buildings, the facilities, and tried as best we could at that time to put a number to the issues that we knew about it. And now I think we're getting, now that we have the stormwater program in place with the funding mechanism, understanding that infrastructure and those issues, that will get more refined as we move forward. We're going to do the same with the sanitary sewers. So 2012 was important because it helped us get a good framework for what the problems were, starting with the pension and OPEB, but then also addressing all these other infrastructure and facility ones, and help lay the foundation to allow us now to start addressing them. Find funding sources. We've got that with the stormwater. We have that with sanitary. With the 2014 budget, the board adopted an OPEB funding plan. The board's adopted policies taking excess fund balances and addressing pension with that. So those help get the ball rolling on all those different areas.
I think CBFAC has done a tremendous job. I think they set a good foundation for us to go off of, especially both of us coming in new. They did a lot of work, kind of set a good roadmap of where we needed to go to. Brought a lot of issues to light. I think the CARFAC has taken that and just taken it to a whole new level. They are just such a tremendous group of professionals, and what an asset to the township to have that independent view of the township. And I think also too what has been big, which I know you have initiated and with the CARFAC, is that when the auditors come in, the auditors meet separate from staff with the Board of Commissioners. So the commissioners, if there are questions or concerns they have, they can directly communicate with the auditors. The auditors meet directly with CARFAC, which is the citizens of this township, that if they have questions, they can directly go to the auditors and express their concerns. I think it's a level that most communities don't get into, to make sure that if there are issues or questions, they're addressed away from staff, those from the day-to-day, which I think just works. It has worked tremendously, and I think it adds to a lot of that openness, that transparency.
Yeah, it helps keep the accountability on all levels. So as an administration, we're held accountable to CARFAC and to the Board of Commissioners, and at the same time it holds the auditors accountable to make sure that the information that they're presenting to the administration, to CARFAC, and to the public and the Board of Commissioners is all consistent. So that we know there's a level of accountability then with our paid professionals too. So you're exactly right.
Good. And then as part of that, with the budget, all the information that is out on the website for anybody to be able to look at?
Yeah, that's there's a lot that we do as a township, and a lot that we're responsible for, and we have the different departments are all responsible for getting that done. And one of the things that the budget is meant to do is help guide a reader into understanding everything that we do. And it's a massive document. It has a ton of information. It has as much information as you want to know about the township. And that's done on purpose to help just the casual reader. There's an executive summary at the front end of it that you can read through in a few pages and get a general understanding, or if you're a resident that really wants to dig in and understand to the nth degree of what it is we're doing, you can get into that level of detail. And so in building it and working with the other department heads and working with the board and working with CARFAC, we wanted to make sure that we were touching or had a document that was able to deliver the message to the different levels of interest.
Now, if people want to get a hold of you, if residents have questions regarding the budget or any information that they want financially from the township, businesses the same way, how would they be able to get a hold of you?
They can, if there's someone who goes to the township's website, there's a link on the website to email myself or anyone else in the department if they have a specific question. For example, our Assistant Finance Director, Bob Tate, he oversees a lot of the business taxes, so if someone needs to touch base with him directly, there's links there. Real estate tax collection, sewer rent, the stormwater. There's a way to get a hold of all of us through the website. You can obviously call at 610-688-5600, and we're here to help. One thing with the website that we try to do is anytime there's a report or something that's discussed publicly where there's information that supports that conversation, we try to post it to the Finance Department's budget and financial reporting page. So the page itself is it's getting long because there's been a lot of reports and things that have been reported on. But that is a kind of a one-page stop for all the finance-related items for the township.
Good, that's great. I want to thank you for being part of this program. Again, look forward to you being back on again and give us some updates as we go throughout the year.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want to thank you and the Board of Commissioners for the leadership. Like I said, we've come a long way in 3.5 years, but none of that would have been possible without the staff members in the Finance Department, the IT Department, and HR Department. They're the ones who really are doing the great work.
Agreed. Well, thanks again, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks. Joining me now is our Police Superintendent, Bill Colarulo. Bill, I want to thank you for joining me.
My pleasure, sir.
Bill, maybe if you just talk about how long you've been here and where you came from.
Sure. Well, this Friday is my 3rd anniversary with Radnor,
Wow.
so it was a quick 3 years, a wonderful 3 years. As you know, I started out in Philadelphia after a 30-year career, and I was fortunate enough for you to hire me, and it's been wonderful. Great community. They're passionate about their areas, and it's a pleasure to work with them.
Maybe just talk a little bit about your department, the different things you're involved with.
Sure. Well, we have about 40 officers right now. One of the units we have is the traffic safety unit, which is extremely important to our community. We just added a 3rd person to that unit. They're responsible for traffic enforcement, truck enforcement, and to do any type of traffic studies. If a neighbor asks for speed humps or stop signs or whatever the case may be, that's the unit that will do the surveys and make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners. We also have a detective division. Again, that has 3 people. They're responsible for investigating any types of crimes that we have in the area, and we do put out frequent alerts if we see a pattern developing to alert the community regarding any type of issues such as burglaries or robberies, so they could be more circumspect in protecting themselves. One of the things too, we have an animal control officer, and we have a recent uptick in the number of rabies, so reported rabies, so we're putting alerts out just to let people know, because it's very unusual this time of the year to have this many reports of rabies. We also had a formulation of a canine unit where we have 2 dogs that are being trained by the Philadelphia Police Academy. Those dogs are nearing completion of their basic training. In fact, the dogs were in the building the other day, and then they're going to go to bomb detection training. It's going to be a very valuable asset for the community as a whole. And just to segue into that, we have a relationship with the Delaware County Kennel Club, where on April 5th at our dog park, we're going to issue microchips free of charge to any resident that has pets that they would like to have a chip installed in their dog. That's invaluable if the dog becomes lost or runs away or whatever the case may be. Very exciting times for the Radnor Police Department. I feel that the morale is as high as it's been in the last few years. I'd like to give you credit for that, because you've always been very open and honest with us, and you helped us with any type of equipment we need. That's just a general overview of the department right now. So
I know you talked about the Philadelphia Police Academy.
Yes.
Now, they've been also instrumental with our motorcycle division too.
Yes. The motorcycle drill team and the highway patrol, they trained our officers free of charge last year. It's the most grueling but the most professional training I think in the country. They pull no punches. Our officers are there for 2 weeks, and when they leave, they either pass the course or they have to come back, and it's been wonderful. And in fact, we're going to send another group of officers to get training again this year.
Now, do you think that the motorcycle division has paid a benefit here in Radnor?
Yes, on a couple of different fronts. First of all, it's a lot cheaper fuel-wise to operate a motorcycle. For the maneuverability, motorcycles are second to none. We've had some pretty big events such as the fireworks on the 4th of July, different parades where they'll lead the parade, or they're able to maneuver through traffic easier than the vehicles are, and it's just a professional appearance that it gives to our department.
Now, has the motorcycles been able to help us in some patrol areas where maybe it's difficult to get a regular car through, like the Radnor Trail, in some of the business districts?
Oh, absolutely. The Radnor Trail is a perfect example, and especially near the high schools or the colleges during special events, basketball games, or whatever the case may be. And they just give an air of professionalism, and it's something the kids like too. It's great for PR. We'll go to a school and the kids get to climb on the motorcycles and play with the lights and everything, so it's good for that purpose as well.
Now, we've recently added some new officers. Maybe if you want to talk about that.
Sure. In fact, the officers, I believe April 12th is their 1-year probation. The officers are completing that. They're an added benefit to our department. As you know, also, we are getting ready to give the written examination again on March 29th, because we do have some openings for police officers, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to hire the best of the best.
Now, you've kind of restructured the department a little bit of how you have your management team.
Yes.
In their involvement. Maybe you just want to talk about their roles and how they're out in the community too as well?
Sure. What we did, and the organizational chart is always changing. The one thing that's a constant in any municipality is change. And one of the things we looked at was our organizational chart, and we decided to come up with a strategy that would put more officers on the street, get a better bang for the buck for the public, because there are employers. They're the ones that pay our salaries. And we reorganized the department where we have less supervisors, but we have more officers working the street. I have 2 lieutenants. One is in charge of operations, which would be any patrol function, and the other lieutenant's in charge of special operations, which would be the traffic safety unit I mentioned earlier, as well as the detectives. And those lieutenants are also available to cover the street if need be. So it's more beneficial, it's more streamlined, and I think the officers have more of an accountability as to who they answer to. So.
Now, we do a lot of community outreach as well.
Yes.
And recently we talked about the benefit of residents if they're going to be away, the vacant house check. Maybe you just want to talk about that program.
Sure, and the vacant house check, you can register online or you can just give us a call on the phone, and that basically what it is if you're going to be out of town on vacation or for an extended period for whatever reason, you let us know, and that information is strictly confidential, so it isn't shared with anyone, but our officers will periodically make physical checks of your home. We will go by, we will check the doors, and just recently, about a week ago, one of our officers, Officer Pyrie, working off of a vacant house check, actually found someone inside of a residence. It turned out to be a family member where the owners didn't know that they were going to be there, but it shows that it pays great dividends, and it could be more of a proactive measure to prevent burglaries.
One of the biggest concerns I know I've heard, and I know you've heard too, is I don't want to call the police. I don't want to bother them with this complaint, or I saw somebody, didn't look right, but I didn't want to bother the police. If you just want to address that.
Sure, and you and I have been to numerous meetings where people start out by saying, well, I didn't think it was important enough. We want people to call 911. Obviously, that is your lifeline to us and vice versa. We can't be omnipresent. We can't be everywhere at every time. We depend on you to call 911. Worst case scenario is everything checks out. But if you have a feeling that something is amiss, give us a call. We'd be glad to check it out. You're not bothering us.
Okay. So for anything, if they've got any concern, you encourage them to call.
Absolutely. Good. Absolutely.
I know that is part of what the police do as well. There's a lot of patrol that they do get involved with. And I know that we've gone to some homeowners associations and that. Is that something that you make available to different groups or organizations or homeowners associations if they would like a police officer to stop, and if they have questions for them, is that something that you do?
Any request that we ever get for any of our officers to show up at a homeowners association, a school, some type of a community meeting, we will absolutely attend. If I can't attend personally, one of my supervisors will attend, but we will make sure we'll be there. We have to maintain that relationship with the community. We have to maintain that line of communication. It is extremely important to what we do.
Good. How can people get a hold of you or the department?
A couple of different ways. You can call us directly. My phone number is 610-688-5600. My extension is 101. If you also call that number, it gives you a menu of all of my officers. They each have a voicemail. You could email us. If you go on our website, all of our email addresses are listed, or you can just come in and see me. You don't even need an appointment. All you have to do is walk into our building here at 301 Ivan Avenue.
Great. Well, Bill, well, thank you for being part of this program, and I'm sure we'll be having you on in future episodes.
It's been my pleasure.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.